I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest, they're factual. That's not hate, that's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares.
Brilliant. Let me tell you that Tucker, a citizen of another country, was way more patriotic than our own media and representatives. Every Australian should listen to that talk and be encouraged by it. Most Aussies are hardworking, conservative, honest, and have a culture of sticking up for the underdog. We have to start sticking up for ourselves and take unapologetic pride in who we are. My family are immigrants from South Africa, and today's climate does not want us to be proud of being Afrikaners. I refuse to see Australians receive that same treatment. We did not immigrate only to bend the knee again. And yes, you are correct. There seems to be this culture of bending the knee because people don't want to be called mean names like we talked about yesterday. You don't want to be called racist, white supremacist. And so you just allow everything of value in your life to be destroyed by the state.
Tucker Carlson is once again going extremely viral for things that he said about the Australian media and about just media in general, but he was being directly, interrogated basically by the Australian media, and he just absolutely destroyed them. He demolished them in that clip. A bunch of those clips have gone very, very viral. And of course, there's certain people out there that disagree with Tucker Carlson. I know it's mind-blowing. There's conservatives out there, mostly neocons, that are disagreeing with the things that Tucker Carlson is saying and was saying in those clips, and they're really going after him. They're attacking him once again. I don't think Tucker cares very much. He strikes me as the kind of guy that just kind of makes his content, posts it, and then doesn't check the replies or the comments or anything like that. He's probably just off fishing somewhere. But everybody else who is seeing it feels the need to step in and defend Tucker Carlson, such as Candace Owens, which we'll go over in this clip because Candace Owens has gone through very similar things. So let's check out these couple of clips here of Candace Owens destroying all the Tucker Carlson haters that are going after Tucker for what he said to the Australian media.
Tucker down under. It was a pleasure to watch him deal with those journalists because we know that they are all just so disingenuous. This person, Julie Mack, writes, I'm Australian. I'm embarrassed by our media almost as much as I'm embarrassed by the American media. And of course, because Australia is America Junior, I watch closely what is happening in your country because I know we are constantly in the pipeline behind you guys, spiraling into the worst of the worst, absolutely embarrassing on a global scale. That quote unquote journalist should hide in a cupboard for a while because she got totally owned by Tucker, and rightly so. You do not have to be embarrassed because obviously, like you mentioned, we are basically long lost cousins and we have the exact same media. And so we now get to relish in these moments only because the people are awake to it. I mean, these clips go viral and we get to laugh at them and we get to pull them up because they just sound so foolish.
Do we have the exact same media? Because I feel like countries such as Australia and the UK and all these places, they don't really have YouTubers like Candace Owens. They don't have independent journalists like Tucker Carlson who are not sold out. All of the people who are from Australia or from the UK or from these places, even Canada, who aren't sold out and talk politics, they talk about American politics. Think about people like Piers Morgan. He's not American, but he makes a living off of talking politics or hosting people on his show that talk politics. They talk about American politics. They don't talk about their own politics. So do we really have the same media? Like, is there any Australian shows that talk about politics or culture war subjects that aren't sold out? Because the only reason why these clips are going viral from Tucker Carlson, trashing on the Australian media, and why they go viral in general is because we have an opposition to the media that is sold out. Americans know now that all the mainstream media is paid, bought and paid for by people who are probably even above the US government, above the president, and really call the shots. We all kind of know that now. So nobody pays attention. They're just a joke. But if that's all you have, if you don't have a Candace Owens, if you don't have a Tucker Carlson, if you don't have a Justin Reloaded, like the video, by the way, then how would you even know what is the truth? Like, who is out there gathering the truth for the Australian people? I get that they watch our politics and they watch Candace Owens and stuff to see like what might happen in their future. But to me, Australia is much further along than America is in terms of like the spiraling of their society, especially how they handled 2020 and what happened in that time period. It was wild what happened over there. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think.
Sound like bots. Like I said, they are handed talking points. They have no independence in their thoughts, and they are there to defend the state and the state's initiatives. And so it's a good thing when we get to see a journalist like Tucker, who is independent, go out and hand them the business. Next up, we have, as a young
And real quick, if you don't know what they're talking about these clips right here, which is absolutely glorious from Tucker Carlson. We won't watch the whole thing because I'm sure you've seen it already, but just in case you haven't, or if you want to relive these amazing moments from Tucker Carlson, let's play a little bit of this clip here of Tucker Carlson just destroying the Australian media.
I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest, they're factual. That's not hate, that's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to, and nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually? And in fact, I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes, and you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. Well, that's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves, so the government has a monopoly.
How does it even go from what they were talking about to gun control? I love Tucker Carlson's response too. He's so quick with it. He's like, what? I thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did.
Violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine? And the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
I have guns at home, and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable. I was like, maybe you're...
I mean, he does, like, how are these, like, I would like to argue against them, but I realize that whenever you're trying to argue against these people, you're not even arguing against the person. You're arguing against whoever pays their paychecks, whoever pays their bills, It's not even like these people have original thoughts. Like these questions are given to them, they're handed to them, and they're just puppets going to ask the questions and trying to get, specific answers out of Tucker and make him look a certain way. So it's like, I would like to say how ridiculous this is and break it down why that statement is so ridiculous. The fact that Tucker Carlson owning a gun is him being, responsible for hate crimes that happen, when in fact him owning a gun will probably deter more hate crimes than it will cause. Not probably, it definitely does deter more hate crimes than it will cause, and more shootings and stuff in general, more violent crimes in general. It will deter more than it will cause. So I would like to go through all those arguments and everything, but at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. And that's, I think, what Tucker Carlson is slowly realizing, just how dumb these people are and how completely sold out these people are.
Just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Tucker, thank you for taking those questions. I'm sure you enjoyed some
Actually, I
questions from the
loved it. I
press.
just feel sorry. I mean, because I got here and the country's so unbelievably beautiful and the people are so cheerful and funny and cool and smart. I'm like, your media's got to be better than ours. It can't just be a bunch of castrated robots reading questions from the boss. And then it turns out it's exactly the same. Maybe.
Yeah, but it's even worse, like he's about to say, it's even worse actually, because they don't have Tucker Carlson's over there. They don't have anybody to show them how bad it is. But luckily, I guess if you watch American media, you'll be able to pick that up.
Australian, let me tell you that Tucker, a citizen of another country, was way more patriotic than our own media and representatives. Every Australian should listen to that talk and be encouraged by it. Most Aussies are hardworking, conservative, honest, and have a culture of sticking up for the underdog. We have to start sticking up for ourselves and take unapologetic pride in who we are. My family are immigrants from South Africa, and today's climate does not want us to be proud of being Afrikaners. I refuse to see Australians receive that same treatment. We did not immigrate only to bend the knee again. And yes, you are correct. There seems to be this culture of bending the knee because people don't want to be called mean names like we talked about yesterday. You don't want to be called racist, white supremacist. And so you just allow everything of value in your life to be destroyed by the state as the state looks down on you and sends out journalists and reporters to make you feel badly about the fact that you have good values. And I believe very much that this is very intentional and that we are not just becoming a communist nation, we're becoming a communist globe. Globally, everything feels that it is becoming communist. Next up, we have Kimsey. She wrote, Candace, this is a world.
And that's by design. You know, we can't go too deep into it in this video, but like that's what I was saying. Like these questions that these journalists are asking Tucker Carlson, they're not coming from the news station bosses. They're coming from not even their bosses. They're coming from the government's boss, the US government's boss, the Australian government's boss. It's all the same person. It's all the same people, group of people. So we can't go too deep into it, like I said, but Candace is completely right. It's not just the US that's going in a communist direction. It's the world, because the entire world is run by the same group of people. And I promise you, it's not like Ben Shapiro's favorite people that I'm talking about. Like, that plays a part in it as well, of course, but it's not just, there's just those people. It's that's not who I'm referring to. You guys know who I'm referring to, the WEF and everything like that. Anyway, let's continue on with what Candace has to say here.
Wide phenomenon. I live in Malta, a country within the European Union, and we don't recognize our country anymore. All that Tucker said, our government is importing new people and the native-born people are being replaced. We are miserable. Our country is ugly and ruined, too expensive to live here anymore. Our kids have no future. It's like the government wants us to leave. They actually don't want you to believe. They just want you to be enslaved. Like I said, it's modernized, it's updated, and the media is there to abuse you psychologically. And the thing that gets scary is the generation that's coming up who doesn't remember, who will have no memory, rather, of what the country was like before this, because they will accept that as their new norm. And that's why the education system becomes so important for them to take over, to rinse these kids, to brainwash them into believing that what they're seeing.
And they're doing a pretty damn good job right now. Luckily, there's some, like, the Turning Point USA stuff where they try to go to college campuses and wake some kids up and give them a place to actually talk, about things like this. Where, I remember when I was in college, and I'm 25, so I'm not that young. Like, I was a senior in high school, and taking some college classes. And so that was probably like 2017 time. And I remember I was writing anti-Trump essays, not because I was anti-Trump, but because I knew my teacher was. Like, my teacher was very openly anti-Trump and like trashed on him all the time. So I was like, hey, I'll get a good grade if I just write bad about Trump in this essay. And that was like, what, 6, 7, 8 years ago at this point. So, it's gotten progressively worse. So I can't imagine, like, now it's not going to be, oh, I'm going to electively write this essay that's anti-Trump so that I get a better grade because my teacher hates Trump. Now it's like, if I don't write this essay as an anti-Trump essay, then I'm going to get an F, so I absolutely have to. And over time, when you go through that for 4, 5, 6 years in a row, you're just going to, it's not about just being anti-Trump, but it's just about all these things that you're inundated with on these college campuses by these college professors and everything. You're going to just, take on those beliefs eventually. So they're doing a great job at brainwashing all of these kids, for sure. Trust me. Like, everybody that I talk to who has gone to college, most of them think the same exact way. They're breeding. It's a drone factory. It's literally a drone factory. It's a bot factory. That's what college is nowadays. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Candace Owens' thoughts on the Tucker Carlson speech, and what do you think about Tucker Carlson's speech in general of him destroying the Australian media. And let me know what you think about my thoughts on countries outside of the US and their media. Like, do they even have anyone to push back on the mainstream media, on the people who are obviously bought and paid for by the higher ups of the world? Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson situation.